The eviction notice felt colder than the January air that whistled through the cracked window pane of my tiny apartment. I held the crumpled paper in my trembling hand. It wasn't just a notice. It was a final, damning scorecard, and I had lost spectacularly. 0 in the bank account, a number that stared back at me with a stark, mocking finality. A mountain of debt that felt like a physical weight pressing down on my chest, making it hard to breathe. And then there was the gnawing, gut-wrenching shame of having to call my parents, my voice cracking as I admitted I'd failed. I was their hope, their investment, and I had come up with nothing. I'd lose hours scrolling through social media, a masochistic ritual. There were my old college friends, smiling in front of new homes with pristine lawns, high school buddies clinking glasses on sun-drenched beaches in Thailand, engagements, promotions, new cars. Each post was a small, sharp jab, a reminder of a life I wasn't living. I'd catch my reflection in the dark screen of my phone, a gaunt face with hollow eyes, and the question would echo in the silence of my room. "What is wrong with you? Why can't you get it right?" The city lights outside, once a symbol of endless promise and ambition, now just illuminated my own deep, suffocating darkness. They twinkled like a million tiny eyes, all judging me. Sleepless nights became my new, agonizing normal. I'd lie awake, my heart pounding a frantic, desperate rhythm against my ribs, the drumbeat of pure, undiluted anxiety. The stained ceiling above my bed transformed into a movie screen, playing my greatest hits of failure on an endless loop. The botched job interview, the overdrawn bank notice, the disappointed look on my landlord's face. The darkness wasn't restful. It was alive, filled with the ghosts of bad decisions and missed opportunities. I'd scroll through job sites until my eyes burned and the text blurred together. The blue glow of the phone would cast eerie shadows on the wall, illuminating the sheer panic etched on my face. Every automated rejection email, every "we've decided to move forward with other candidates," felt less like a professional formality and more like a personal, brutal insult. A confirmation of my worthlessness. The world was a high-speed train hurtling forward, and I was stuck, sinking in the quicksand of my own inertia. The pressure to be something, to be anyone but this failure, was a physical force, crushing me. I was trapped in a vicious, spiraling cycle of self-doubt and toxic comparison, and I honestly couldn't see a single way out. Then came the night it all broke. It wasn't a sudden flash of divine inspiration. It wasn't a motivational speech that flipped a switch. It was pure, bone-deep exhaustion. I was sitting on the cold linoleum floor of my kitchen, surrounded by a sea of final notice bills I couldn't pay. The red ink screamed at me, and I just started laughing. Not a laugh of joy, but a hollow, desperate, slightly unhinged sound that echoed in the empty room. It was the sound of a man hitting absolute rock bottom. I was done. Done feeling sorry for myself, done envying others, done waiting for some miracle, some lottery ticket, some forgotten rich uncle to save me. In that moment, staring at my empty, calloused hands, I made a promise. Not to be rich, not to be famous, but to never ever feel this powerless and pathetic again. A quiet, fierce resolve, born from the ashes of my complete and utter surrender, settled deep in my bones. The fear was still there, but now it had a new companion. Anger. A clean, cold anger directed not at the world, but at my own inaction. It was time to fight back. The beginning was anything but glamorous. It was a brutal, humbling grind. I swallowed my pride and signed up for a food delivery app. I spent my nights racing across the city on a rusty bike, the smell of pizza and greasy noodles clinging to my clothes and hair. I'd come home past midnight, muscles aching, to a cold, empty apartment. The pay was barely enough to keep the lights on, but it was something. It was survival. By day, I became a permanent resident of the public library, not because I was suddenly studious, but because it was warm and had free Wi-Fi. I treated learning like a full-time job. I devoured books on personal finance, on budgeting, on building habits. I watched countless hours of tutorials on graphic design, on copywriting, on digital marketing, anything that seemed like a skill someone would pay for. I sent out dozens, then hundreds of proposals on freelance websites, crafting each one carefully, only to be met with deafening silence. It was demoralizing. a constant barrage of rejection that tested my newfound resolve every single day. I made a budget with the few dollars I had, tracking every single cent in a worn-out notebook. Every small step forward felt like it was followed by a gust of wind that pushed me 2 steps back. Then, one Tuesday afternoon, after weeks of relentless trying, a breakthrough. It was a small notification on my phone, an email with the subject line, "Project awarded." A small business needed a simple logo, and they had accepted my bid. The price, $50. It wasn't life-changing money, it wouldn't pay off my debt or fix my problems overnight. But as I saw that notification, my breath caught in my throat. My heart, which had been pounding with anxiety for months, now beat with a different rhythm. Excitement. I had done it. I had created something from nothing. It was the first dollar I had earned that wasn't from a place of sheer desperation, but from a skill I was painstakingly building. It was a tiny seed of competence in a wasteland of insecurity. That night, I didn't order takeout to celebrate. I went to the discount grocery store, bought some pasta and a jar of sauce, and cooked a simple meal at home. And as I ate it, sitting at my small, wobbly table, it felt like a feast. For the first time in what felt like a lifetime, hope, real, tangible hope, started to flicker back to life inside me. That $50 changed everything. Not because of what it could buy, but because of what it represented. It was proof. It was validation. It was the first crack of light in a long, dark tunnel. My entire perspective on money began to shift. It wasn't this big, scary monster to be feared, or a magical solution that would solve all my problems. It was a tool. It was a direct result of the value I could create and provide to others. My focus pivoted. It was no longer, how can I get money? It became, what skills can I build? What problems can I solve? How can I become so valuable that people are willing to pay me for it? I stopped chasing quick, easy wins and started focusing on building systems for long-term growth. I reinvested that first $50 into a book on advanced design principles. The next 100 went into a small online course. I started to see learning not as a cost, but as the single best investment I could make. The journey was far from over, and it was still incredibly hard. But my direction was finally clear. I was no longer a victim of my circumstances, tossed around by the whims of fate. I was the architect of my future, laying the foundation one brick, one skill, one small win at a time. And I realized that this mindset, this understanding that I had the power to change my own reality, was the most valuable asset I would ever own. Thanks for watching. If this story resonated with you, consider subscribing for more.